A woman with multiple identities is blamed when her neighbors start falling to their death. Is she innocent, or is one of her identities the culprit? While being interrogated, a woman requests a pen, explaining that she uses her hands to talk. She shares that she's been diagnosed with multiple identities. However, she's learned to cope by enjoying being a passenger in her own body. Dr. Jennifer Silk arrives. She drops files on the table and asks for her chair. Detective Moss stands up instead, taking the files with him. The detective introduces the scribbling woman as Suki, and Jennifer asks her to recount the events from the beginning. Moss proceeds to lay autopsy reports of people that died since Suki moved to Juniper Towers. She corrects the detective, pointing out one that's still alive, so Jennifer tells him to find the person. After Moss's exit, Jennifer asks about Juniper Towers. The suspected culprit explains that it's where socially inept people are transferred when they're getting better. Previously on Suki's first day at Juniper Tower, she arrives just in time to witness a jumper who fell from atop the building. Unfazed, she makes her way up. In the stairwell, Emily appears, warning Suki that the stairs are unsafe and shoves her into the hallway. Soon, Cleo arrives, and they introduce each other by sharing their conditions. Cleo bids to meet again and reminds her to avoid the stairs. Still, Suki chooses to avoid the elevators. She hurries upstairs after hearing pleas for help and a shadowy figure approaching her. On the 15th floor, Suki opens the door to a girl with bunny ears, who encourages her to become a jumper like everyone else. Eventually, Suki arrives at her room and hears voices urging her to jump. In a panic, she runs to the toilet and throws up. She then recalls her time at a hospital where she struggled against nurses and scribbled frantically on walls. Previously on November 16, Tape 21, Patient 107, Dr. Kari noted that their machine had burned away another identity, leaving only 9, while Dr. Sinclair remotely instructed them to continue. Meanwhile, Suki's heart had stopped, but Dr. Satomi spotted her taking a pen, causing Karim to announce that the scribbler had taken over. Soon after her recollection, Suki hears more voices urging her to escape. Then, Hogan visits her, bringing over sugar. Over coffee, Suki asks why he's still there. Hogan answers that it's a place full of women with daddy issues, perfect for a predator. Suki teases him for faking his condition. Still, she's happy to have a sane friend. Later, they discuss Hogan's promiscuity, being the only male in Juniper Tower. He refers to it as an act of service that distracts people from jumping. Then, Suki starts hearing voices, this time urging her to avail of Hogan's services. Initially reluctant, she soon changes her mind. In present-time interrogation, Moss returns, informing Jennifer that the person is in custody, though not considered a suspected culprit. Moss asks what it's like having multiple identities, and Suki explains that it's similar to being in love, acting out of character but unable to stop because you don't want to. Afterwards, Jennifer asks about Sinclair and his treatment methods. The suspected criminal answers flatly, Siamese burn therapy. Previously on November 14, Tape 17, Patient 107, therapy consisted of Suki being electrocuted, and each time a personality was burned away. After her session, Sinclair encouraged her to do one more so that she can be moved to Juniper Tower and continue treatment there with a PBU, her portable burn unit. During her stay at Juniper Tower, Suki stirs to more voices calling her promiscuous. Her movement wakes Hogan and he drinks his assigned medicine. Curious, he asks what's her treatment, so Suki reveals her PBU. As Hogan scans through the manual, he laments that she's zapping away his friends. He also notes that one of the machine's side effects is memory loss. After Hogan leaves, she starts hearing voices again, but this time, they're urging her not to use the PBU. Determined to reduce her 9 identities, Suki activates the machine. Moments later, someone with long hair can be seen standing on the side of Juniper Tower, somehow defying gravity. The following day, Suki wakes up to voices accusing the scribbler of writing on the walls and even the PBU manual. She also sees that the machine has been heavily modified, though now indicating she has 7 remaining identities. Worried, Sinclair calls to check on her, considering there's been another jumper. The doctor informs her that he'll be coming over this Friday. After hanging up, Suki notices her entire room is littered with various notes and the word killer. She tears it down until a dog asks her if she's okay. During interrogation in the present time, Suki reveals that during her day-long blackout, the girl wearing bunny ears died. Jennifer asks if they knew each other, but the suspected culprit answers that they only met once, before continuing her story. In the tower, Suki heads out and the dog asks her to bring back food. As she passes by room 63, a lusty rendezvous can be heard from within. She heads to the elevator, and it starts talking to her too. Wary, she opts to use the stairs instead. Moments later, Emily sneaks out of room 63 and joins Suki. The bear woman rides the elevator up and wishes Suki good luck with the stairs. As Suki descends, she's pushed by someone. Alice helps her up and asks if she's seen her dog, named Hogan. She denies seeing one and Alice pushes her again, this time knocking Suki unconscious. Hours pass. Suki returns to her room and encounters Emily, disturbed by being forced to wear clothes. She bangs on room 63 and Hogan opens it, realizing that she finally met Alice. He apologizes for not warning her about Alice's jealousy. As they talk about his relationships, Hogan laments that everyone he gets close to ends up jumping. Abruptly, Suki says she wants to borrow a camera for a personal project. Hogan quickly hands her one and offers to help her with it, but she declines. Inside her room, Suki is complaining to Hogan the dog about Alice, and the dog agrees, stating it's the reason he moved out. While they talk, Suki activates the PBU, but this time films her treatment. Soon after, Emily falls to her death. In present time interrogation, Moss displays Emily's report and insinuates that Suki killed her. However, Jennifer asks why she used the machine even after it was modified. Previously on October 30, Tape 7, Patient 107, Kareem and Satomi discussed with Sinclair that one of Suki's personalities, the Scribbler, has superpowers. Kareem added that under the Scribbler's control, Suki could become dangerous, like Patient 99. Sinclair argued that if Patient 99's accident didn't happen, the burn process wouldn't have been discovered. Kareem is told to focus on burning as many identities as possible, and if the Scribbler is the last identity remaining, Suki still has a 50-50 chance at control, her yin and yang. Soon after Emily's demise, Suki wakes up outside to a parking attendant hounding her. The voices urge her to resort to violent acts, but Cleo appears and defends her until the man flees. Suki picks up today's newspaper, stating it's Wednesday, and with a headline about a missing patient. On the way to her room, Suki encounters Alice, asking if she's seen Hogan the dog. Alice mentions that her dog is ridden with diseases, to which Suki asks, is that why she named it after Hogan? Alice quickly remarks that they were friends even before Suki arrived. Then, she asks where Suki was when Emily jumped. The surprised woman was unaware that Emily jumped. She opens her door, but the security chain is on, so she kicks her way in. Inside, Suki sees the PBU was modified again, and her voices all blame the Scribbler. While cleaning the mess, she finds the camera ruined, and the PBU indicating she has 6 identities left. Suki connects the camera to her TV and sees herself, but with glowing eyes. Suki exits her room to see Cleo knocking on Hogan's door. When they hear Hogan about to open it, Cleo kisses her, and Suki hides back inside. Soon, the voices urge her to use the PBU on the dog. Initially reluctant, she changes her mind and sparks start flying. Meanwhile, Sinclair is outside Juniper Tower, ordering someone on the phone to inform him when they learn who the escaped patient is. In Suki's room, she's fighting back angry growls and red glowing eyes. When she's finally able to contain the threat, Sinclair announces his presence. Suki opens the door and Sinclair invites himself in, saying he's early because of the recent rise in jumpers. The doctor asks about her PBU sessions, and she reassures him that everything has been by the book. Sinclair informs her that he's going to check her identity counter. Desperate to stop him from seeing the modified machine, Suki elects to knock him out. Fortunately, the doctor's phone rings, identifying patient 99 as the missing patient. Alarmed, Sinclair rushes back to his office. That night, Hogan and Suki prepare to fight the rabid dog. He opens the door and the dog harmlessly waddles out. Disappointed, the man asks which identity is in control, because one of them is a compulsive liar. In response, Suki shoves him inside to show the modified PBU. Curious, Hogan wants to experience the machine. Despite Suki's protests, he activates it, and a blinding flash envelops the room. Soon, the voices start panicking, and Hogan calls out her name. He's in ecstasy, glowing and levitating. In his enlightened state, Hogan explains that each time she uses the PBU, the Scribbler gets out and modifies the machine. The enlightened man approaches Suki and starts attaching cables to her, saying he also wants to meet her true self. As he hands over the final electrode, voices in Suki's head start urging her to push the button. Hogan walks to the machine and tells her to let her screaming yang out. Eventually, Suki orders Hogan to activate it. As Suki gets electrocuted, her strength increases, her hair grows, and the counter goes down from 6-2. Then, Hogan watches as the Scribbler flies out in a flash of light. In present-time interrogation, Moss erupts in anger at the absurdity of the story, so Jennifer calls him outside. She lectures that Suki is telling her version of the truth, and it's their job to decipher the metaphors. They head back inside. Moss bids Suki to continue, but she can't remember what happened after flying. Jennifer asks why she would risk using the machine after seeing what happened to Hogan. Suki answers that sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. She recounts waking up the next day in front of an abandoned store, barely clothed. She also spots the word killer on her before it disappears. After realizing that her injuries have healed, Suki walks back home after stealing a costume. She arrives to find Hogan outside, dejected. He gestures to the bloodstain in front of him, and Suki realizes Cleo's dead after picking up her ankh necklace. Hogan informs her it happened last night. In her room, Suki sees the PBU got even bigger. Hogan reveals he watched the Scribbler build it. Suki approaches the machine and takes down a note written "finished," though behind it is "killer." She asks what the machine is for, and Hogan announces it shows people's true selves. The enlightened man informs her that she's just another identity created by the Scribbler to deal with the authorities. Suki tries to escape, but Hogan stops her, urging her to use it one last time. He points out that there's only 2 identities left, and she'll finally be free afterwards. Hogan forces her to use the PBU, so Suki resists as he attaches the cables. During her struggle, a blinding light shoots out of her, launching Hogan back. Afterwards, she rushes to the elevator, where Alice appears. Suki shoulders past her and runs downstairs. With the door left open, Alice snoops inside the room and sees the machine. Outside, Suki dashes to a phone booth and calls Sinclair. Disturbed, she demands to know who her real identity is. She continues that Cleo is dead and suspects the Scribbler killed her. During their conversation, Suki's eyes start glowing again. Sinclair asks where she is, informing her that he's coming to get her. Previously on October 17, Tape 1, Patient 107, Satomi described Suki as someone with no home, family, or friends. Kareem reported that she was in the child care system at an early age, and assumes her identities were created to navigate situational problems. Thinking she's perfect for his experiments, Sinclair ordered her transferred under his care immediately. Soon after, Kareem talked to the Scribbler and learned that Suki lives inside her. Resuming Suki's recollection in the phone booth, Sinclair picks her up to take her back to Juniper Tower. During the ride back, Suki discovers Patient 99's files. She skims the report and blames Sinclair's treatment for Veronica or getting worse. The doctor snaps, declaring he tried his best but she was incurable. When they reach Juniper Tower, Suki interrogates him about Patient 99. Sinclair reports that she killed everyone her boyfriend was intimate with, before finishing him off too. Sinclair wonders why she's so interested, and Suki reveals that Patient 99 is Alice. She runs out of the car, recalling that the deaths only happened after the women slept with Hogan. Then, she realizes that the Scribbler wasn't accusing her. Rather, she was warning her of Alice's actions. As Sinclair calls the police, Alice lands on the car, enveloped in a black aura. With super speed, Alice knocks over Sinclair and pummels him before crushing his phone. Then, the evil woman hurls Suki inside and advances on her. Suki rides the elevator and runs straight to her room. There, she finds Hogan injured and the PBU recently used. He says he was trying to help Alice, but it only brought out her darkness within. Suki reports that the woman died because they were intimate with him, and once all his previous partners are dead, she'll finish him off too. Hogan offers to sacrifice himself to slow Alice down. Desperate, Suki realizes they're too weak to stop her and decides to use the machine. Seeing Suki attach the cables, Hogan takes back everything he said earlier. He's now discouraging its use, saying Suki should be who she wants to be. Just then, the door bursts open. Suki says her final goodbye and activates the machine, but nothing happens. Alice reveals that she removed a piece of the PBU, leaving it inoperational. The evil woman advances on Suki and finally hurls her out the window. As she falls, Suki makes sense of everything. The Scribbler's machine stimulates unused parts of the brain, revealing the person's real identity. Hogan is pure like a child, Alice is stained by jealousy, and Suki is the Scribbler. Below, the Scribbler doesn't hit the ground but levitates safely to her feet. In Suki's room, Alice is savoring Hogan's final moments. As he's about to be pushed out the window, Hogan spots Suki making her way to the roof. At the mention of her name, Alice releases him and heads to the roof. There, the two women fight. Alice opens with a Superman punch knocking over the Scribbler. She flees, and Alice grabs a pipe as she stalks her opponent. The Scribbler tries to catch the evil woman unaware, but it doesn't work, and Alice lays into her. Finally, Eventually, the Scribbler retaliates, and they clash in earnest. The two trade blows until the Scribbler manages to kick Alice into a high-voltage room. However, it only empowers the evil woman, her body now charged with electricity. The Scribbler tries to reason with her, but Alice remains stubborn. The Scribbler grabs steel cables and uses Alice's momentum to shove her off the roof with the cables around her neck. Somehow, the subdued woman survives. The Scribbler pulls her back up, but this time, Alice's demeanor is different. Alice is disgusted by herself and confesses to pushing people that get too close. Upon the death of her other self, Alice realizes that she was the pusher all along. Having said that, she turns around and jumps off the roof. Distressed, the Scribbler screams silently at the skies. Soon, she joins Hogan as Suki. Hogan was worried Suki was gone, but she informs him that the Scribbler never wanted to take over. The injured man shows her the missing piece and announces that he can fix the PBU, but Suki tells him they don't need it anymore. Later, Hogan is sitting in an ambulance. Moss instructs him to stay there because he'll be giving his statement right after Suki. Shortly after, Sinclair approaches him and wants to know what just happened. Hogan hands him a note from Suki, then goes inside while playing with the missing PBU piece. In present-time interrogation, as Moss confirms that Alice threw herself off the roof, the power fluctuates, and Hogan's screams can be heard. The interrogators run out, but not before Jennifer instructs Suki to stay. They head to Suki's room, where they find Hogan wired to the PBU. Witnessing the man glowing and levitating, Jennifer realizes Suki wasn't talking in metaphors. After a blinding flash, the duo head back to the interrogation room, but Suki isn't there. Moss plays back the recorder and hears a message left by Suki. She tells him that there are no black and white answers, just gray areas. Both sides are important, left and right, yin and yang. Outside, people notice a figure standing on the side of Juniper Tower. As Jennifer reads Suki's messages on the table, the Scribbler announces her presence, ready to show everyone her side of the world.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.